Number 14 does not have a line reference, so we skip ahead to number 15 and we use the line references in this paired question to sort through everything. So always look ahead to the next question when you don't have a line reference, especially if you're using the no reading strategy, because we need to kind of know where to look. But before we dive into those line references, let's make sure we're following the QLC method. We need to read the question and make sure we understand what we're looking for as we read those line references. So the passage indicates that a problem with failing to document null results. Well, I would underline the word problem here. Show your work, right? So that's what I'm looking for. Something negative, some sort of problem. I'm not going to dive too much deeper. If it has a problem in it, that's a good line reference. So let's look at the first one, 38 to 40. That's right here, choice A. Their answers suggest to Malhotra that rescuing findings from the file drawer will require a shift in expectations. Okay, well, it doesn't sound like a problem. It sounds like a solution, that they're going to have to shift their expectations. So this doesn't seem right to me. The other thing is question 13, the vocab question. The line reference that we were told for that was line 43. So this would put things out of order. This choice A would break the chronology rule. So that makes it less likely to be right already. But yeah, when I read it, I'm pretty sure that it's not even answering the question. So there you go. 48 to 50. Okay. So that's here. However, the Stanford team was surprised that researchers didn't even write up 65% of the experiments that yielded a null finding. So it's kind of hard. It sounds negative. The Stanford team was surprised that researchers didn't even write up 65% of the experiments that yielded a null finding. So on the one hand, it might seem like we keep this because the problem is that they do not write them up. Okay, fine. If you're really understanding those lines, though, you probably know that this is wrong because this is a what choice, not a why choice. It tells us what the question already told us, right? A problem with failing to document null results. This line reference is basically just saying that researchers fail to document null results. It doesn't say why that is bad. That's what we're going to really want. And we're going to want the why. This is a what line reference. It's a subtle distinction. Hopefully you kind of see what I'm saying, but the more you practice the SAT, the more you'll realize that some of these line references just kind of repeat the question without answering the question. They tell us what we already know without answering why we know it. And there's a big difference there. So this B is not going to be right. But if you were unsure, you could leave it in. Notice I wrote a little thing next to it, so I have a memory. And showing your work, very important on these complicated evidence pairs because we're jumping back and forth. It's a lot to keep in our brains. Write it down. Show your work. 56 to 59. Let's look at that. He and others note that the bias against null studies can waste time and money. Sounds like a problem. When researchers devise new studies, replicating strategies already found to be ineffective. Okay, so waste time and money. That is absolutely a problem. That's a good answer, so we should keep that. Let's look at D, though. We can't jump to conclusions. 59 to 62. Here. Worse, if researchers publish significant results from similar experiments in the future, they could look stronger than they should because the earlier null results are ignored. So they're ignored. Okay, fine. That's a problem too. So this is going to happen a lot. And this is why in this stage of our QLC method, we do not need to come up with an answer. The point of these paired questions is that we're going to need to find three things that kind of line up perfectly. We need a question that has an answer in the choices and that is supported by a line reference. So those three things, the question, the choice, the line reference, all need to kind of line up. And we can't jump to conclusions until we've kind of found the perfect grouping of things. So in this case, C and D are both valid answers. They both present us with problems from failing to document null results. So we can't eliminate them. Maybe one of them seems more right than the other, but we can't choose yet. We have to now go to the choices in number 14 and try to find the ultimate pair that's going to match. So let's do that, and let's see if we can find some matching ideas as we do. So a problem would be that the results of related studies will be misleading. Okay, well, misleading is a word I'd want to check. And if I go to these two choices, the ones I'm considering, it says that they would look stronger than they should. So maybe that's it. That's a little bit of a weak connection, but it's a connection. So let's leave this for now. I don't really know. B, researchers may overlook promising areas of study. Well, ignored kind of matches with that, but what's being ignored? The thing that's being ignored is the area that they are studying. So another promising area, that's not mentioned. So they're ignoring it. They're ignoring the earlier studies, but they're still looking at other experiments about the same topic, right? Similar experiments of those same areas. So the areas are not being overlooked. They are still being studied. That's kind of the problem, actually, is that they're being studied and they're not. The results are getting kind of skewed because we're not getting a fair sampling of results. So the promising areas of study, not really talked about here. We're still talking about the same areas, not new areas. C, mistakes in the collection of null results may be overlooked. Well, the problem here, it's very subtle. Mistakes in the collection of null results may be overlooked. We're talking about the studies being overlooked, but not that some sort of problem with the process is being overlooked. So again, it's not a great connection. Let's look at D. The bias against null results will be disregarded. Well, they did talk about bias somewhere. I think that was in choice B or A. Where did I see the word bias? I thought I saw it. But point is, the bias against null results will be disregarded. It's a lot of double negatives. So a problem with failing to write down these experiments is that the bias against them will be disregarded. I'm trying to wrap my brain around what this is saying. What I'm hearing this say is that actually that's not a bad thing. That there should be a bias against these null results. But the fact that it's disregarded is that they're not being written up, so there is no bias. So we want to see these results. This is very, very confusing. So if yours kind of looks like mine here, you might have no choices that you're like confidently getting rid of. And this is gonna happen. This is a case where I was just like, as I did this question the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh. These choices are very difficult to line up. But the one that makes the most sense to me is choice A. The results of related studies will be misleading. Let's look at this. Let me use the highlighter here. We're having trouble lining things up. I'm confused. But confusion can be good. Because confusion is your brain's way of telling you that what it's reading is not making any sense. And sometimes it doesn't make sense because you are the problem. Other times, though, it doesn't make sense because the choices are the problem. So let's look at that choice A again. The results of related studies. So results from similar experiments will be stronger than they should, will be misleading. Results, related studies, misleading. Those three ideas in choice A have perfect correlations to the words in line reference D. Whereas all the other ones, I'm stretching it. I feel like I'm forcing them to fit because I don't really know why they're wrong. They seem related, but it's hard for me to put my finger on. Whereas with choice A, I can point to words in the lines and I can point to words in the choices and say these are the same. Results are talked about in both exactly. Related studies, similar experiments, different words, but pretty much the exact same idea. Misleading, stronger than they should. Pretty much the exact same idea. So that would give me confidence that this choice and this line reference, A and D, match up really well enough for me to pick it. I would not leave these questions feeling 100% confident, but with reading, we can't always get 100% confidence. There are going to be things we don't understand. There are going to be choices that are confusing, line references that are very dense. We're going to need to be okay with 75% confidence. And here I would probably be about that. I'd be like, look, if I have time, I'll come back to it and maybe sort through these choices again and see if there's something I'm missing. But right now, the fact that the least confusing choice to me was choice A makes me think that that's probably it, because the others just, I'm trusting myself. They don't make sense, not because I'm confused, because I don't understand something, but because the choices themselves are nonsensical. I can't make sense of them because they don't make sense. And A and D are right. And I would probably do something like this, where I mark these on my page and I come back to them if I have time. This is a really hard pair of questions. But I think it really gets to something important about the SAT, is you can't look for 100% confidence on everything, but you can try to have more confidence in yourself and use your confusion to your advantage. Something can be confusing because it doesn't make any sense. The test gives you choices that are nonsensical. And if it happens, just pick the one that does make sense and move on and hope for the best. That's what I did here. That's how I would have gotten these points in real life.